hands down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello everybody, welcome to this post-election version of MGR Unplugged. Actually, I was thinking this is our first ever post-election podcast. Mostly because the podcast is only a year old or so. So it's a brand new experience for us, so we're very excited.
Well, unfortunately, we're recording this Thursday morning.
Right.
For anybody watching.
Yes, it's Thursday, November 5th. So
by the time you see this, we may know who won, but we don't know yet.
As of now, we don't know who's winning the elections.
We were planning on knowing already.
I
I thought we would know by now.
So we have the post-election winners and losers. So we're going to focus on the winners and losers, not essentially the presidential elections, which we're not going to know for a while, I think, it looks like. But we're going to focus on everything else around the elections, basically. But yeah, this is the first one that we do after the elections. And contrary to what many people thought, it's not the end of the world. As we know it, I think things look pretty much the same. I haven't seen much difference so far. No riots, nothing so far, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see down the road. Yeah, it's too early to call.
I'm afraid that if it goes to the courts and all of that, who knows?
I know.
I think the worst case scenario is if the election is decided in the courts. In some
I definitely want.
manner,
I don't want this.
Then I think there's gonna be rioting for sure.
Yeah, well, Trump is already suing some states and all that. So I don't know exactly the details of the suing and what they're suing for. Even though I read just this morning that apparently Nevada, which is one of the states that Trump is very close or disputing, there were votes from people that have moved and have died. I don't know how that's possible. I mean, you die and you still can vote. Maybe there's a right to vote after you die for like 5 years. Just like in California, they make you pay taxes even if you move out of the state.
Post-mortem
vote?
votorum.
Votorium.
Post-mortem votorum.
something is, but in Nevada, Las Vegas, you never know. Maybe there's special things there that you can.
Someone said, it's funny that the whole election might come down to Vegas. Yeah. And I think that's pretty funny. If that's not American, I don't know what is.
That would be pretty sarcastic. And but speaking of Vegas, one of the winners are the sports bettors, basically, on sports betting sites. So we're gonna get to that in a second. But anyways, on this podcast, we're gonna focus on the winners and losers of the election that are not especially the the politicians that were running for it, but also some of the other propositions and things that were on the ballot. So. We'll start with the losers first, so we end up on a high note with all the winners. But the biggest losers, in my opinion, are the pollsters. I mean, who the F trusts these people? I mean, we were promised some type of
but you know what?
Blue wave.
A lot of people, I think, didn't trust them anyways. Because even going in, it was funny on Tuesday night. It was like 4 o'clock or something, and I told you this is before results came in or went right in the beginning, and I was like, I know what all the polls say, I know everything. I was like, but I don't know, man. I was like, I have a gut feeling that this election's gonna be a lot closer than people think. I remember we had that conversation.
Yeah, we did that.
And I was like, I don't think Trump is gonna win necessarily, but I thought he could. I thought he had a real chance, and it people were kind of going into it seeming almost like it's pretty likely Biden's gonna win, and it probably won't be that close. And I was like, I don't know. I think that they're not.
But this is the thing,
because all the polls come from these.
These are reputable sources. It's like a CNN slash.
I don't think they're that reputable, because all these polls come from very much kind of coastal elite. Media companies, whether it's Washington Post, LA Times, New York Times, all these polls. First of all, like, I've never gotten a poll request. I've never given a poll. I don't know who gets these.
You don't answer to all those junk mail or junk phone calls.
Well, I don't know who's answering all their junk phone calls, but I've never answered a poll. Never been asked to answer a poll. I don't know who's answering these polls, but on top of that, I just think the and many people have said this, the coastal elites very much do not understand the center of the country. And if you live in a bubble, especially if you're in like New York or LA, of where you think, oh, there's no way Joe Biden could lose because everybody I know hates Donald Trump, I think they don't understand that there's a lot of people in this country who do not basically want to vote for Democrats, especially because one thing I think we talked about a few weeks before the election, I said I think the two political mistakes Biden is making going into the election is that he is being pretty open about possibly having more lockdowns and raising taxes. And those are two things that I said if he ends up losing, it's going to be because he said those things. Because no politician ever gets a lot of votes when they say they're going to raise taxes. And then if you're going to say you want more lockdowns, there's lots of people in this country on both sides who do not want more lockdowns.
Right. We played that game, didn't work. Let's just move on.
I was like, and he was very kind of open about those things. And I thought, I think that's a mistake.
But back to the pollsters. I mean, the thing is, you say they're not reputable. I mean, when you say a CNN/ABC News poll or whatever kind of poll from media outlets, like you said, which is my next point too. But I mean, these guys learned a hard lesson 4 years ago when they were predicting, Hillary Clinton to win, and then Trump came back at the end.
They had Biden winning Florida. He lost Florida.
Right.
They had Biden winning Pennsylvania by 9 points, and we don't know who's going to win yet. But Pennsylvania is going to be very close. But they had Biden winning by 9 points.
But they had the Democrats winning by a landslide. They were talking blue wave. They're going to sweep everything. And even if you forget about all the disputes on the electoral votes, all that stuff that's still taking place, but just look at the popular vote, okay? First of all, more people voted these elections than ever since, I don't know, for the last percentage-wise.
Nominally, it's the highest ever.
Right.
Relative percentage, I don't know.
There were already 100 million people that voted ahead of time by mail and all that. So that is a record. And then if you look at the popular vote, which Biden won by about 3 million, is basically like a 49-51 type thing, or 49 and change.
It'll probably finish, I don't know exactly, Biden will probably finish 71, 72 million, and Trump is probably going to be 68, maybe 69 million, right?
Right, so you have 140.
Which is more for both. Than both. Right. Biden got much more than Hillary, and Trump got more this time than he did last time.
More people voted this election, which is good. It's probably a result of the campaign saying people vote, and all that. But when you have a country that is basically 50-50, you kind of rough it up.
Just about, yeah.
That means that it's not a landslide. Okay, so posters that were saying, oh, Biden is up by 10 points, he's up by this, he's up by that. It's not. I mean, we're still 2 days later not knowing who's won, basically, or confirmation, and we don't know it, so it's definitely a very close election, much closer than people thought, even closer than the previous one. And this was supposed to be less close or more predefined than the previous one with Clinton and Trump, so to me, that this just basically makes me feel like I don't trust. I didn't trust the polls anymore, because I always said, people say one thing. First of all, you need to trust that people, when they're asked the question, like I said, they don't ask everybody. But if they ask you the question, why would I say the truth? I mean, somebody says, what is your opinion? Who will you vote for? If I'm a Trump supporter, I may say Biden. If I'm a Biden supporter, I may say I'm going independent or Trump or whatever. I don't need to say exactly what I'm going to do.
I don't know. Like I said, I've never taken a poll, never been asked.
But what incentive do I have to say what I really going to do? Plus, I may have a public persona saying, oh yeah, I like Democrats and this and that, and then like you said, for the taxes purposes and everything else, when I look at my wallet, I say, you know what? Yeah, idealistically, I like all the democratic ideas, but when it comes to money in my pocket, which is really what I care about, I'm going to vote for Trump.
Listen,
or the other way around.
The majority of people in this country are either small business owners or work for a small business. And small businesses are the most affected by the lockdowns. And so if Biden is going out talking about more lockdowns, a lot of those people are not going to want to vote for Biden.
Right.
And that's why I said this 2 weeks ago. I said if he loses it, the number one reason is because he's been very open about being pro-lockdown, more lockdowns, and
Which,
Trump has obviously been the opposite.
I don't even know.
And
if he's
I'm not
do it.
even gonna get into what's right, what's wrong, partisan. I'm just saying purely from a political strategy standpoint, I think that there's a lot of people who basically do not want more lockdowns, and Biden was pro-lockdown, and Trump is obviously very anti-lockdown, and that hurt him.
And then, as a spillover from the pollsters, the next losers as far as how things are going are the media outlets. I don't think there's one media outlet that predicted these results, basically, in general. I don't care if you are far right, far left. I don't think Fox predicted this to be so close. I don't think anybody else, CNN, ABCs, NBCs, whatever network or media outlet you go, either they were saying, oh, this is completely wrong or not, but I don't think anybody predicted that this election was going to be so close. They basically said, they were predicting that if Trump loses, there may be some conflict or something, or acknowledging defeat or whatever, which is a different point, but nobody expected this election to be so tight as the night progressed, to the point that middle of the election results evening, if you remember, people were freaking out.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the outlets were like, what are we
That was
seeing
like
here?
a 1 hour period.
Yeah, it was a
where all of
deja
a sudden
vu.
everybody thought it was when Trump was way ahead in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
He was
And
obviously he had
Georgia,
already
and
won
North
Florida,
Carolina.
Georgia, it looked like.
Yeah.
And he was even leading in Virginia, remember?
He was leading in Virginia.
And Michigan,
North Carolina
and
started flipping from being
all of a
Biden
sudden,
to being Trump.
It was like, oh, Trump is going to win this. And now, obviously, it's very close.
Right.
Obviously,
But
right now, it
everybody
looks like
was freaking
Biden
out.
is favored. But I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean,
But the other thing I noticed is that this year, I don't know, maybe it's because of what happened before, the media outlets were very, very cautious this time. Before, it was in the last 2-3 elections, it was almost like a race to see who's first on calling a state, who's first to say CNN prediction.
I know they still haven't called like North Carolina.
Right,
at
obviously
the time
nobody
of
will
recording this.
do that now in this situation. But like in previous years, it was almost like a race between the networks to say, we called it first, we called Florida first, we called North Carolina first, Georgia.
Well, the funny thing is
and
that
this year they've been so cautious.
The first one, we're in Arizona, and the only network that actually declared for Arizona Biden was actually Fox News. Mm-hmm. And all the other networks did not declare it for
now it's very close
Biden, and now it's very close. It looks like it's going to be a toss-up.
Yeah.
So that might have been an error on their part.
So I actually think that that's a positive, that the networks decided to play cautiously and not declare victory or anything.
I told you, I said, I bet you these networks are loving it because they get, instead of one day,
Yeah.
many days of coverage.
And they have all these pundits with their opinions and stuff, which is a whole different thing. So the other losers are... well, I wouldn't say losers, but I think when you think about what happened, and I've been kind of like the last couple of days, obviously, reflecting on why did everybody get it wrong, all these experts, because I was listening to a variety of experts from the business industry, from entrepreneurs, from politicians, from political commentators, from people in all kinds of things, and nobody was having it right. And I think... But at the same time, we're seeing that the Senate still is probably going to continue to be Republican, majority Republican.
That's the big punchline.
Right.
But the Republicans gained on the House too. So even if Joe Biden wins,
right.
A lot of the things that if you're on the right kind of feared, like the court packing was a big one. That's not going to happen if they don't have the Senate.
But that's more to my point. Let me. What I was going to say is that a lot of people that voted for Biden or Trump is not necessarily that they like one or the other. It's that they disliked the other person more. Yeah. Like people that voted for Biden maybe are people that said, hey, listen, you know what? I'm fed up with Trump. He's a big mouth. He's been this. He's not very presidential, whatever. He's a loud mouth, whatever. All the things that you may use to dislike Trump as a person. But then you say, but also, I don't really love Biden. So I'm going to vote for Biden for president, yet I'm going to vote Republican for everything else. for basically for Congress
Maybe.
and obviously for the House and the Senate and everything else. And so it's more a matter of some of Biden votes, and that's basically the 50-50 that we see split in the popular votes. People that maybe said, hey, you know what, we don't like Trump so much, but I do not want Biden to run the score and do everything.
An example of that would be California, which voted 63% for Biden, I think.
Right.
Very, very, obviously everybody knows California is very blue. But on AB5, or to turn down AB5, which was Prop 22, I think is what it was called, the one that made all the Uber and Lyft drivers,
that's one of my winners,
employers instead of contractors, basically removing the option for being a contractor if you work for these.
More in detail in a second.
But that's an example where, because Paul Krugman, who I think is a fucking hack, he's a New York Times columnist, but he's like an economist who I think is an idiot. But anyways, he basically said, and he summarized exactly what I think the left's problem is. And he says, I don't understand voters. He goes, in California, 63% voted for Biden, but then AB5 got turned down with 57% of the vote, which means a ton of the people who voted for Joe Biden for a Democratic president voted against this very left-wing measure.
Right, which was created by a Democratic governor and
it was created by
what's
her name, Lorena Gonzalez,
yeah.
Who's the same person who said "fuck Elon Musk" on
right.
Twitter,
yeah, exactly.
and that's when Elon Musk said, "Okay, I'm going to Texas."
Yeah.
But that shows. But he said, "I don't understand these voters," and it's like that's the point. That's the whole point. You don't understand the voters. That's why it's so much closer than you think. But even people on the left, like, I think the majority of the people who call themselves Democrats might be on the left, but they're not radical left. The radical left who wants to basically strip away all employment options for contractors, which is hilarious too, because when they did polling of Uber drivers, it was like 70% of the Uber drivers said, no, I want to be a contractor.
Exactly.
I don't want to be an employee.
Exactly.
Not
to mention that they want to work for two companies at the same time. That most of them are doing both Uber and Lyft.
And it's like there's this disconnect between what the party leadership believes and what the party voters believe, because they voted for Joe Biden. Obviously that's to be expected. I would expect the Democratic voters to vote for Joe Biden, but when it came to the other things that were not the presidential election, they actually voted pretty centrist, if not a little right, on a lot of things. And this is what a lot of people didn't understand.
Yeah, again, if you look again at the popular vote, if this country was really so fed up with Trump and
and
disappointed,
that's the other thing.
It's like, okay, well, you would expect like the voting to be like 60-40 or something like that. Like, obviously, we always said that the hardcore Republicans will vote for the Republican candidate no matter who he is or what he does or she, and then the hardcore Democrats will do the same thing. But all these people that vote more practically, saying, okay, this is better for the country, or better for me, or better for this or that, those are the swingers that will go one way or the other. And last elections, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote too,
I think,
by a small percentage.
And
we're the same way now.
Because just because somebody might be more left-leaning doesn't mean that they're a democratic socialist. Right? There's a big difference there. You can, because I think a lot of people on the left are actually on the left not so much because of their fiscal beliefs, but more because of their social beliefs. Right? They're very progressive as far as, whatever causes are going on. But they don't. But just because someone's on the left doesn't mean that they want socialism. And I think the whole Green New Deal was a disaster for the Democratic Party, because that is so extreme left, it's unbelievable. And I think a lot of Democrats are very turned away by this, saying, what is all this stuff? Because the Green New Deal is like a fake. I mean, they claim it's for climate change, but then you read it and it's like, oh, we're going to ban eating beef We're going to
Yeah.
we're going to guarantee jobs. That was one thing that was
it's
in there.
utopia unimplementable, if that's a word.
It was going to be a universal basic income for people who choose not to work, that you don't have to work and you'll still get paid a salary. Like all types of crazy things that I think most people who are center left Democrats are like, whoa, what is all this? That I think was a disaster on their part. And again, I think a lot of people voted for Trump who are just afraid of socialism, basically.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the thing I told you I saw. I was watching CNN and it was Chris Cuomo asking these like panel of people, why are there so many Trump voters when it seems like a lot of people don't like Trump? And they don't get it. They said, oh, because he created a culture war. He did all the... Are there racist people and white nationalists who voted for Trump? Yes. Is that the majority or even a large part of the nearly 70 million people?
You don't get 70. No, that's the...
No. And especially, by the way, tons of Latino people voted for him. I mean,
that was
so they don't get it.
That all these people that were saying, oh, the Latino population will vote for Biden, they're like, and then the Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, all black people are going to vote for Biden. And they start compartmentalizing the country into different races or different, ethnic groups or sociological backgrounds. And then they say, okay, well, all those guys are automatically Biden. No, first of all, not all Latinos are the same. I'm originally from Spain. I don't know if I'm Latino or not, but I know very well that a Mexican person is not the same as a Cuban or an Argentinian or Dominican Republic or any other South American country. Each of them is different, and they have different goals and different strategies.
Even majority Mexican areas in Texas,
right,
were voting pro-Trump.
Oh, exactly.
And the thing that I think,
but the same applies
caught a lot of people on the left off guard was that Trump got more Latino voters and more black voters in this election than he did in the last one. After all of the George Floyd stuff, after 4 years of people calling him racist, he got more minority support.
You would imagine that if he was such a landslide, like states like Georgia would be like, oh, well, this is all Biden.
That's why I think there's a disconnect.
South Carolina or North Carolina.
I think if the left wants to win elections, they need to be much more centrist. They need to stop being so extremist because it's turning people away.
And I think that's one thing that the Democratic Party hasn't learned. I mean, you would imagine
I don't think they have.
After last election, they will say, okay, we're going to have to look another inch deep into each of these groups, because we're gonna just say the Latino voter is gonna go for Biden. It's like there's no such thing as a Latino voter.
Yeah,
okay?
obviously.
There's no such thing as the black voter or the brown or the Asians or there's no one size fits all.
The Asian voter. Well,
it's like
there's a lot of Asians.
Exactly.
Okay, and Asian is so broad.
Right.
I mean,
and I think
a Japanese person and a Korean person or a Vietnamese, they are very different.
Completely different.
They're completely different. You just put them all in a box.
Even South America. I mean, South America has like 2,000 countries out there, and you cannot just put them all in the same bowl and expect that they are all one vote. I mean, it's like the European voter. Okay, well, people know better the European voter. The European Union is nothing but a disunion where they try to work together on the few things they agree on. But each European country, they've been at war for centuries.
But even in white voters, there's a lot of, first of all, like, personally, I think what distinguishes voters actually much more than race, despite the narrative, is class. I think classism and the kind of, I don't want to say class warfare, but at least the class division
status
is much more the center issue, should be the upfront issue than actual race issues. I'm not saying that obviously we don't have race relation issues in our country, but I think a lot of race relation issues are actually class issues in disguise. That's what I think. And I think a lot of working class, and it shows in the votes, a lot of working class people voted for Trump because they don't care about the race stuff. They don't care about all of the hyper progressive things. They just want to make a living. They don't want to pay more in taxes. They don't want to have massive regulations.
It's back
they
to
don't want
basics.
more lockdowns. I mean, Bill Clinton, to his credit, back when he was running, the reason he won is he had the famous thing is he said, it's the economy, stupid. And this is a Democrat, okay? And Bill Clinton said, people vote with their wallets first. And he went heavy on the economic side of things. And
Right.
Bill Clinton won the working class vote. He won the election in a landslide over H.W. Bush, who was the incumbent. And normally incumbents win. In fact, if Trump loses, it'll be the first time an incumbent loses since Bush. But it's because he focused on the economy. And this is Bill Clinton, a Democrat who knew this, okay?
So to finalize or to finish this section on the losers, my question, which we'll never know the answer, obviously, is like, if this election were so close after the last 8 months that we had with COVID, Black Lives Matter, social unrest, everything else,
Oh, I mean,
what would have happened if this was just a normal year?
I think Trump would have won for
I mean,
sure.
if he-
I think it would have been big time. I think
Right.
COVID really. I mean, it's not a. You can just.
I mean, if you look at this
COVID
year,
really hurt him.
if you look at this year, we started with Trump being impeached, which to me was a joke. I mean, I whatever you think about it, it was when Pelosi knew that he had no way to succeed just because the Senate was not going to approve it, basically. That's just a waste of taxpayer money, time, and everything. But there was nothing else going on, so the news were feeding off from the impeachment and all that stuff, and it was just silly. Not to mention the cost for the impeachment. But that's how the year started, trying to say, okay, we're going to start doing this campaign to start ruining Trump's reputation as we lead towards the election year or election in November. But then we come February, March, COVID comes around. And then we get into all these things, and then the social unrest, and the Black Lives Matter, and all that stuff. So we've had 8 months where everything and the economy was good, according to Trump's standards with the market and all that stuff. All that stuff that happened right until February 2020 came to a screeching halt and collapse with COVID and everything else that happened as a result of that. So if it weren't for that, and despite of that, the election was so freaking close, or is so close, what would have happened? That would have been a landslide in the other direction. That would have been like, I mean, Trump would have won with no dispute.
Yeah.
Forget Biden. I mean, if you remember, we were thinking the Democrats have no candidate. They didn't know who was the best candidate.
It looked like it was going to be Bernie or Biden. And if it was Bernie,
well, they sidetracked him.
There was,
exactly.
There was no way Bernie was beating
Well, when
Biden.
you look at
and
the,
I think that's why, I'm not getting into conspiracies, but I think it's fairly, I mean, we know in 2016 they rigged it against Bernie. But
Right.
I think also this year, the DNC clearly did not want Bernie.
No,
because
they
they
didn't.
know that the majority of Americans are not going to vote for a radical left guy.
But they didn't have a sure candidate until basically I think they themselves selected the lesser of the evils, because when they had in the beginning on the Democratic debates, when there were like 20,
Well,
there
I
were
think
20 candidates.
They wanted Kamala,
I know.
but she did terribly.
Yeah.
And basically, she had to drop out. I mean, she after the debates did so bad.
Well, yeah, to the point that the final three were basically Bernie, Warren, and Biden. And then the Democratic convention, or Democratic Party said, okay, like you said, Bernie's gonna freak out people.
They
Warren is like
basically-
totally crazy.
The whole bet, I think, was that okay, people loved Obama. Biden was the VP of Obama.
Which reminds me of our point.
So we're gonna basically put Biden in, and he's a well-known name. He's not a radical. He's been a center-left guy for most of his career, so he has the best chance of winning. And I think that was it.
But I think that happened also because at that point we were already with COVID, so it came right on their lap to say, he was an Obama, obviously vice president with Obama for 8 years, but if you remember, Obama did not endorse Biden until he was the Democratic elect candidate. He will not say, from all the candidates, obviously I'm going to endorse Biden because he and I worked together for 8 years and I think he's the best for the job. He should have been the best 4 years ago. He decided not to run, so let's make it now. Everything is fine. He never said that. He was awfully quiet, not endorsing anybody until basically was the only one. He says, oh yeah, I endorse Biden. Oh shit, there's nobody else to endorse. Okay, so that gives you one idea of how much he supported Biden for whatever reason. So when COVID happened, and then they said, okay, we need a candidate now that is going to do a good job, and then all they had these democratic debates where they already had enough opportunity to trash everything that Trump is doing, the administration, blah, blah, doing wrong. I still don't know to date what Biden would do differently when it comes to COVID and
No, I
other
mean,
situations.
the ultimate.
I don't know if he
punchline
has
for
a
me-
magic wand that
me
no other
personally-
government understands, because the point is, I mean,
I listen. I've said it before. I say it again. The president is not that important. We make it way bigger of a deal than it is. The truth is, the president actually is not that powerful, and especially because it looks like the Republicans are going to win the Senate. So really, if the Republicans win the Senate, it doesn't matter who
I
wins the
know.
presidency.
I
Because even
know.
if it's say it looks like, let's say the most likely outcome, again, we're recording this on Thursday. People might know the result already, but let's say it's Biden wins the presidency, Republicans win the Senate. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, basically, the majority of things Biden has said he wants to get done are not going to get done because they're not going to pass through the Senate. And the president doesn't have that much power. It's just, a lot of it is a show, honestly.
Well, I think-
it's a
and I
political
think-
show. And I think
think,
no matter who wins, the media will tell you it's very important because they want you to watch and get their ratings. But the truth is, materially in your day-to-day life, the president doesn't affect you that much. Your local legislators affect you way more than the president does.
right.
That's the truth.
So no, that's definitely true, and I think that is actually why the market and everything else is reacting this way, because they are forecasting now that Biden may end up winning the election much tighter than
I
expected.
think the market is happy the Senate is going to be Republican
Right.
and the president's going to be
That's-
Democrat.
that's like
so you're going to
political-
have gridlock.
Political dream,
And nothing's
nirvana
gonna happen.
to say, okay, we're gonna swap chairs at the presidency, but we're still gonna have Congress basically being split.
The biggest
And-
thing that will be in the balance if Biden wins, because I don't know exactly what his policies are going to be, is when it comes to foreign policy, specifically on things like China and Iran, that and North Korea. I don't know exactly, because he's been very opaque.
Vague, I
As
would
far as
say.
what he's going to do. Because
Right.
obviously under Obama, he wasn't the president, he was the vice president. But under Obama, obviously Obama was not hard on China. They did the Iran deal. The I almost said North Carolina. The North Korea tensions were very kind of high, to the point where there were a couple kind of almost like, are we going to war right now moments, if you remember.
What? Yeah.
So those are the things where Biden, I don't know what's going to happen,
Honestly,
and that's where he has a lot
but,
more power.
Okay, well, you make a good point, because
But
after-
domestically, not a lot's going to change.
after 6 months of political campaign, whether it's on the Democratic side or between Biden and Trump, you know pretty much where Trump stands with China, Korea. I mean, he told North Korea, hey, if you guys even fire a missile or something, we'll wipe you off the map, period. I mean, that's what he said. And he met with
It was the
Kim Jong-un
famous
stuff.
Fire and Fury. Or
Right,
something.
right. I mean, they know that, okay, this guy, I'm crazy, meaning the North Korean's president, but this guy is even just as crazy as I am, so I need to be a little more careful. He's not going to be like, oh, we want the United Nations, the political things, the peace process, but no, he says, before I even ask these corrupt other people, I'm going to defend my country.
I think
So,
if I were to guess, if I had to make predictions, again, this is just guessing. I have no information. Don't take my word seriously. But I think North Korea, I think Biden is probably going to just not really touch North Korea. If he wins, he's just going to basically kind of continue what Trump did, where it's like, hey, listen,
yeah,
we don't want
but you
war,
don't
we're
touch
going to
North
leave you
Korea.
alone.
North Korea is the one who initiates all the conflict.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden they start doing testing and they fly missiles
know.
over Japan.
But
and blah,
I
blah.
think
So,
Biden will probably just continue what Trump did because it worked. The biggest question to me, I think, is more Iran and China. I think Biden will probably try do the Iran deal again. I don't know if it will happen, but he's gonna at least try to
the deal where
do the nuclear
the
deal.
where they are not supposed to develop nuclear weapons, but then they have inspectors that go, but they need a 4-week notice before they show up. I mean, fuck it. You're supposed
And
to. It's like having a drug test, but we say we're gonna give you a month notice before we test you. No shit.
And then
What
the
was it?
biggest one is China. I really have no idea what Biden's going to do on China. He says he's going to be kind of hard on China.
Yeah, well,
We'll see. I don't know.
he wasn't hard before. I don't know why he was hard now, but
It seems more bipartisan that people are against China now. I
I
don't know. We'll
I
see.
think Biden may be a little better in unifying the country, and I don't know exactly how to define that, because again, there's a 50-50 split vote pretty much. So the country seems to be pretty split evenly as far as who they like or who they don't like. So as far as having a more presidential reaction to local issues and all that, that may help a little bit. Foreign policy, I don't think it's going to be any better or different. In fact, it may be a little worse as far as trade and everything. So either way, what is sad is that I don't know exactly, realistically, I don't know exactly what his policy is in a lot of these issues. I don't know exactly, as much as they've criticized the Trump administration's actions or inactions with COVID, what would Biden do differently? Because really, Biden said, we just need to listen to the medical community and medical experts. But the medical experts are totally split. If you listen to the medical and I understand everybody's learning and we kind of have to change our minds as we learn
Biden's
more.
going to do more lockdowns.
I think he said it. He said he's going to mandate masks and
He's going
stuff.
to do different community lockdowns. He said
Right.
it, so-
Okay. Yeah. Which is what they've been trying in Europe, but it hasn't fucking worked. I mean, in Europe, they're now doing like lockdowns by districts, by sections of the cities, by this. It's impossible to monitor that shit. Okay, people, but then they have the exception. Oh, if you go to work, it's not. If you go to the bank or you go to this, if you can now telecommute or go to work, then you're excused and you can go to work. Kids can go to school. Biggest contradiction. I mean, all that
Yeah,
shit.
that's another question mark. I don't know what Biden's going to do with schools.
Right. But you don't know it. I mean, he doesn't know it.
Like I said, I said if
So-
Biden loses, it'll be because he was very pro lockdown, and I think a lot
Yeah.
of people on both sides do not want lockdowns.
Either way,
But like I said, the truth is, president less important than the media makes it, and if it's a Republican Senate, doesn't really matter. He's not going to get a lot done.
well, if Biden ends up winning, obviously, it's going to be. I want to see what the media is going to say, because as much as they hate Trump,
I think
they're
this,
going to have
I
nothing
think,
to talk about.
I think they're secretly hoping Trump wins because their ratings are going to go down.
I know it's going to be boring. Like, oh, there's nothing to dispute. Everything is going cool. So, all right. So let's go to the winners briefly. The winners, first of all, is going to be all of us. I'm so fucking, tired of all the text messages, calls, flyers, and shit that I get for political advertising is not even funny. I mean, the fact that my phone is texting and sending me messages at 3 a.m. to tell me to vote or to join this thing or whatever, or Michelle Obama calling me and leaving me a message here saying, hey, it's Michelle Obama, I just wanted to remind you to vote. Thanks, Michelle. I already know it, okay? I've heard a million times to vote, okay? So all that stuff, we're talking about all these privacy policies and permission-based emails and all that shit, and we get all these like,
Wow.
I don't know what the permission is. They're texting me.
Who writes the laws?
Yes, I know.
You know that's what they did. For anybody who doesn't know, we're a marketing agency, right? We work with SMS texting for different companies. We cannot send unsolicited texts. It's illegal. We cannot do it. We'll get a big fine. But the one caveat in that law is that politicians can. So if you're doing it for a political reason, you can send all the unsolicited texts you want. But if you're doing it for any other reason, you cannot.
I'm telling you, if I haven't had like, I don't know, 100, 150 messages, I think I typed stop more in the last 30 days than ever in my freaking life, for whatever reason. Okay, type stop to stop, type stop to this, type. It's like, what the fuck? Just leave me alone, okay? Do not disturb. Is there an option there for people to just stop sending me messages? And I asked you, I said, I don't know if people pay for text messages these days. And you said, no, nobody does. But back in the days, they say text messages charges apply and all that
days,
shit.
No, I don't think anybody.
And I'm thinking, if I had a plan that charges me 10 cents per text messages,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just
They
the
do it
point.
because everybody else unlimited.
Well, I
text
figure
now.
that's the case these days. But man, I've had so many of those. So, anyways, I'm happy that I don't have to go to my mailbox and have like 20 pamphlets or
I'm
leaflets.
happy
on-
that all the street signs are going to go away.
Yeah, that too.
I hate
That's-
driving
that's-
around and seeing signs constantly in your
and
face.
I don't know
everywhere.
how. I mean, I told you about how effective advertising is, even on commercials and all that stuff on TV, normal advertising commercials. and I doubted that the effectiveness of those, but you said they were, and that's why they spend so much money. Honestly, the street signs and the placards and all these things that they put in the corners, who the heck is driving and sees whatever for sheriff or whatever? It's like, okay, I don't know what the effectiveness
I think
of
it
those
works
is.
because I think it's more kind of subliminal. You see the same name over and over.
Yeah,
and
then
over.
when you go to the ballot, you say, "Oh yeah, that's the name that I've seen," and it
Yeah.
has the red, or it has the blue, or this is the sheriff, or whatever. So, or maybe you put a face to a name, because when you go to the ballot, you don't see a name and you don't know what the name is. But then maybe on the actual sign, you see a face of a lady or a guy or something. It says, "Oh yeah, that's the guy with the friendly smile and blah, 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 all the family and the kids, and they take care of the community." Either way, I'm happy that it's over. This political advertising is getting very invasive and intrusive. As much as we have all these privacy laws for everything else, it's like
I know
there's no laws
you
for
can't
that.
escape it.
They just go everywhere. I mean, it's crazy. So, marijuana. You're the expert on those, as far as
Expert.
So some states have passed.
Arizona is one
Arizona
of
is
them
one of them.
for recreation. So it was already legal for medical here.
All right, so I'm a total novice when it comes to marijuana and use of cannabis and things like that. I have to admit, proudly admit. But anyways, what does that mean? I mean, I know that we had dispensaries here, and then you could have a medical prescription, I guess, and then go to one of these places and then get a prescription for use of marijuana for medical purposes.
Not like
something.
it's not a prescription. It's just a card, basically.
Well, but somebody has to prescribe it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You go to a doctor and then you get a card, basically.
Okay, you get a card.
If you have one of they have like a preset list of things.
Conditions or something. Okay, so whatever condition you had, if they think that marijuana may help you heal or something, you get this card and you go to these places and you buy it. It's different, it's like a pharmacy, but it's different. But that was it. So what's the difference now?
Now anybody can buy it. 21 and over.
Okay, so now anybody can go to one of these places and say, "What I want, these brownies or something, or what?
Whatever you want. I mean,
I
whatever.
want
they have.
candy."
Yeah, I mean it'll be like a liquor store, basically. You'll have marijuana stores just like you have liquor stores.
Okay, and then you buy it and you consume it in your house, or
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
we're
not-
talking.
You can't do it in public.
You can do it in public.
You can
can't
do it only
How
on-
do people know you're eating a brownie? What kind of?
Well, if you're eating edible, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna police that. But yeah, as far as like smoking, you can't do it in public.
Right, so you're gonna have smoking a joint in a
No.
place or walking
It's
down
not
the
like
street.
cigarettes where you can smoke on the street.
Right.
It's only in private property, basically.
Okay, so you can consume legally marijuana in your house, in your car, not necessarily in your car, but in any place where you will normally be
Yeah.
away from the public and all that stuff. And then for the edibles, same thing. You can just buy like whatever. I mean, I always hear about the brownies. I'm sure there's marijuana in many other. you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
put-
they make everything.
and anything.
Candy, gummies, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's legal now in Arizona. What other states approve that? I mean, some of them.
New Jersey,
Okay.
Mississippi made it medical. It was totally illegal, and now it's medical. I forget. I think there was 5 states,
And I
and then the big one was Oregon.
Yeah, I heard that Oregon passed even.
They made it. They decriminalized a bunch of drugs: cocaine, heroin, LSD. I'm not sure if any others.
But they also
forget.
approved some psychedelics, right? Like mushrooms.
LSD is one of them. Yeah, I'm not sure about exactly all the psychedelics.
Well,
but
okay,
yeah,
well,
they decriminalized.
I'm curious about that. The word decriminalized. What does that mean?
So that means basically it's not legal. So you still can't, like, you're not gonna have heroin stores, okay? But
yeah, I was
it's-
gonna say.
but it's decriminalized so that if you're found in possession of like heroin or cocaine or something, you're not gonna go to jail for that, basically.
Okay, but the trafficking is
That's still illegal.
okay. So if you are found in possession of heroin or something, and they ask you where you get it from,
They can ask you. I don't think
and
you
you
have to
say,
tell
"I
them.
found it on the corner."
Yeah, I don't think you have to tell them.
Okay, well, that's kind of extreme, I think. Why
I
would
mean,
Oregon
I don't
do
know. I
that?
think people should have the right to do whatever they want. It's their life, their choice.
Yes, but what happens is that when people do
You
whatever they
know,
want,
the-
it's no different than
Listen,
you can
it's-
drink whatever you want. You get in a car, kill somebody, then okay, well that
Sure, yeah, they don't change that.
That kills.
If you're high and you get in an accident or something, it's no different than drinking,
right,
right?
but you start legalizing all these things.
it's not legalizing. It's just basically saying
well, decriminalizing.
we're
there's
not
no-
gonna send people to jail because they're a drug addict is basically the thing. There's better solutions. We don't need to have, like, the other thing in Arizona that they're doing as part of the law is they're expunging all records. So if you went to jail for possession of marijuana, non-violent basically. So if you went to jail just for possession of marijuana, or have any type of record, it'll be expunged. It'll be cleaned off your record.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we should be sending people to jail for being addicted to drugs.
Well, I mean,
we should help them.
I think possession also, I don't know the details, but I'm sure possession, if it's possession for personal use, is one thing. You know, you have a stack of pounds of
obviously
marijuana in your pantry.
Listen, selling is still illegal, so you can't just sell heroin in Oregon, right?
No, that's trafficking or selling, but possession, how much possession can you have? Can you have like okay, before,
no, obviously.
Let me ask you, before the pandemic, when everybody was panicking, they were buying a lot of food for their houses and all that stuff.
So
can you
in Arizona, for example, for the marijuana, I think it's 1 ounce.
Oh, okay, 1 ounce.
I think that's what it is.
Okay, that's not a whole lot, right? I don't know how much.
That's a lot. I mean,
Is it?
It depends. If it's for one person, that's a decent amount. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's just like it's nothing.
Yeah.
How much is in a? I mean, I'm not sure that you know or not, but I mean, from what you heard, how much is in a joint?
It depends. A gram, maybe.
A gram.
It depends.
Okay, I have no freaking idea. All right, good.
Maybe less. Depends. Maybe more.
All right, so that's one of the winners for those who care about that. Sports betting sites also.
That's another thing. I just think I don't know.
I don't know why that was illegal.
Just let people do their thing.
I know,
Listen,
it's their fucking
if
money.
you want to smoke weed and gamble, that's your choice.
I know
it's your
that's
life.
one thing that I didn't really. It was kind of when I started looking at this, and some of the sports betting companies were actually the public companies were doing well on the market and going up. It's like, I didn't know it was illegal. I mean, you see all these things in the papers about the over and unders and this and that, and I know better myself, but it's like, why would that be illegal? I mean, I remember back in the days when I was little.
Listen, you have 18-year-olds opening Robinhood accounts and trading options, okay? That's just as much gambling as betting on who's going to win the game tonight, okay? Listen, I think the government doesn't need to be involved in these things, all right? People can be responsible for themselves. Just because marijuana gets legalized and gambling gets legalized doesn't mean that people shouldn't be responsible, okay? If you get high and bet your life savings on the game and lose, that's your problem. You should be more responsible.
But all this
the government doesn't need to babysit people.
Right. But all these sports betting sites, I forgot the names. The one that I announced for football all the time for weekends. I mean, what's the name of those?
There's a bunch. There's DraftKings.
Yeah, well, like those.
Barstool is now opening their own betting
right,
sites.
Because they
There's
were
a bunch
acquired. So were
what's
those?
The other one? There's FanDuel. I mean, some of them are like fantasy. Bovada. That's one I've used before to bet on some.
But okay, so what does that mean? They were not legal before in all the states? Or?
Yeah, so before it used to be like a lot of these were based out of like Caribbean islands and shit like that.
Okay.
And now they can just be based out of here.
Okay, so that's for the company itself. But what about the user? If I were betting, I was doing something illegal, because I mean that's just
it's
not
kind of gray.
I mean, all these people are advertising in every single podcast of things.
Yeah, now it's legal.
But before too,
Because the Supreme Court, was it last year or 2 years ago, approved it, and they basically said states can decide.
Okay.
And so New Jersey was one of them, and so that's why most of the gambling companies are based out of New Jersey. But the Supreme Court basically said, at a federal level, it's no longer illegal, so the states can decide whatever they want. And so New Jersey and other states basically said, okay, well, we'll make it legal.
Right.
And now states want revenue because they tax these things. And so as soon as one state makes it legal, the rest of them are going to too, because they want the tax money, or else all my tax dollars are going to New Jersey, even though I live in Arizona.
Right.
All
right. So another winner, and you kind of touched on this at the beginning of the podcast, is the gig economy, specifically Uber and Lyft. That we actually talk about that at length here in a podcast sometime. It looks like a fuzzy time ago, but anyways, the basic was that the California wanted to treat Uber and Lyft drivers as employees rather than independent contractors, with all the repercussions of that. Despite the fact that most of the drivers themselves said, no, we want to remain as independent contractors. We liked the independent part of being a contractor, meaning I can set my hours, I can drive whenever I want. It's my car. Today I want to drive for Uber. Tomorrow I want to drive for Lyft. And the day after I want to drive nothing. So that's the independence of a contractor, that they can dictate their own rules. And yeah, they play by the rules of Uber when they drive the Uber and other stuff, but at the same time, they have their masters of their own time, basically, as far as when and how and all that stuff. California, of course, tried to collect as much taxes as possible, wanted to make him consider them employees.
It was all union, basically lobbying. That's what it was.
No, I understand.
It was the unions in California lobbying
Right.
to get them to pass this, and it didn't work.
Right. So basically,
Well,
now,
it did, and then basically they did get the legislators to pass it, but then they voted California to reverse it.
and then if you remember when the legislators passed the law, Uber and Lyft both threatened to leave. And then they went to court and they said, okay, we're going to postpone it, not just yet. So they remained there and all that stuff. And now with the elections, there was a proposition on the ballot which basically said, no, you can basically remain as independent contractors, which is what everybody wanted in the first place. Which is the irony that you were saying, how California being mostly a democratic state.
Right.
The Californians, the people said, yeah, you know what? But we like to Uber
It
to
won
be here.
with 57% of the vote.
Well, exactly. So
I
we
mean,
said, yeah,
so it wasn't particularly close.
right. It wasn't just like the Uber and Lyft drivers voted for one thing. It's like California people and others. So that actually is important because that actually sets the precedent for other states that were looking into what happened in California to see if they could do the
if
same.
California doesn't do it,
Right.
as liberal as they are,
Right.
I don't think it's going to happen in other states.
Obviously. So a lot of people, a lot of states were looking to see what California,
I just
the
think,
result,
listen,
to see if they could do the same.
I think this is what Uber, Lyft, all these companies should do. They should say, okay, because you don't need the government taking away choice, because that's what it is. They take away choice. If you're Uber, Lyft, this is what you can do. Okay, if you want to be full-time and you want full-time benefits, then these are the requirements. You need to work the hours we tell you to. So we're going to tell you
Right.
from 8 a.m. to 5
Yeah,
p.m.,
morning
whatever.
shift, night
You're going to
shift,
be
middle
working.
shift.
You're going to be driving for Uber.
You can't work for the competitor.
You cannot work for any other competitors, right? And they said just like any other employer would, right? And they can settle those rules, and then the drivers can decide. And obviously, the majority of drivers say, "No, I want the flexibility."
Right.
Many of the drivers actually do it as a side gig, not a full-time
They do.
thing.
They do it as a side gig. They have another job. They do multiple. Sometimes they are
biggest
Uber and
benefit-
Lyft is very common. Some of them actually do Uber and DoorDash
And
or some
DoorDash-
other.
yeah, the
some
biggest
other-
benefit is that you choose your hours.
Right.
So a lot of these people work different jobs and they can choose their hours. Because the other thing too is there are like non-peak hours, like Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. to noon. I don't know if there's that many people riding Uber, so they don't want to do it.
No,
but
and
on Friday nights, you say, "Hey, I want to make an extra $100
I've
tonight
seen
or
that.
whatever.
I've
I'm
seen
gonna
that.
go drive Uber tonight."
You know, I use Uber all the time. I don't use Lyft that much. I don't even have the app, but I use Uber all the time, and I usually have a little conversation with the drivers. And it's interesting because those guys. I mean, one of them says, "No, I actually work at a restaurant, or I'm in a bar and I work there. But you know, I have some free time, so I like to do this." And you know, another guy was a realtor. And he says, I use Uber as my networking thing. I pick up a lot of people from the airport. It was a guy in Austin, actually. And he said, I pick up a lot of people from the airport that are coming here for conventions and business and this. And then I tell them that I'm also a real estate agent. And then I give my card. And then a lot of people contact me back when they come here and they're looking for a house to stay or something. So he says, I made more money through Uber on my real estate gig than what I make through Uber. But Uber for me is the perfect way to find networking options, because for every family that I pick up that is quiet or kids or whatever, I have business people that are flying to town and then I talk to them. So there's lots of cases where these guys are using Uber the proper way and you're making them, oh no, you're going to be a full-time. No, that's not why people use Uber. Like, you know, even the hours and all that. So, all right. So anyways, that got approved in California. So that's good. Especially, like I said, I like the precedent that it sets for the other states that we're kind of saying, oh, maybe if it passes in California, we can do the same thing. Well, fuck it. We're not gonna
Right,
do
and
the
the
same thing.
corrupt thing about it was that when they passed the AB5, that it affected journalists,
Right.
and it affected
any journalists and photographers.
lots of people.
Yeah.
And so what they started doing, because obviously the journalists were upset and started writing all these basically very negative stories about them all over in all the California media. And so then they said, oh, we'll make an exemption for the journalists. So basically, because the journalists have a voice, they get okay treatment. But all the Uber drivers and these people who don't have a voice,
Right.
they don't have media outlets that they own.
Right.
They get screwed.
Right.
I mean, that's what happened.
So,
So good job, Californians.
weren't you planning on moving there?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
It's not looking good.
I
these
don't
days,
know.
huh?
We'll see. I'm gonna ride it out. Okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
So the last 2 days, basically since the elections non-results, we've seen two unusual things go up. Well, the market has been going up like crazy for the last 2-3 days. I think it's because the market likes the fact that it's not a landslide. But
I think the market likes the fact that it's going to be gridlock.
yeah,
and that
yeah,
there's going to be
all this,
nothing passed.
all these corporate taxes and all that stuff are going to go through the Senate, and they're going to be stuck there, so nothing's going to happen. So that's what they're lacking. But the thing that I'm surprised, and we discussed this at length last time, is Bitcoin and crypto. By the way, we had a very extensive podcast exclusively on blockchain and crypto last week, where David actually spent a lot of time describing and explaining
since then,
everything.
Bitcoin's up 2,000.
Yes. So what I wanted to say as a side note is that I actually, not only did we publish the podcast on YouTube in its entirety, which is I think an hour and 15 minutes or so, but I also edited the podcast into 4 different segments, explaining blockchain and then comparing Bitcoin to gold and Ethereum and the US dollar as a reserve currency and all that stuff. So if you're interested in this topic, I recommend that you go back to our channel and then find those little sections that are about maybe 8 to 10 minutes each, and you get a good gist of Bitcoin and everything else, because he actually did a very good job. So, but back to now, since we were talking last week, that was like 13 and change, I think, when we're talking, just under 14,000. Today is past, as we speak, 15,000, which is the highest in almost 3 years. I think I was reading it was
It's the highest since 2017.
since 2017. Yeah, I was reading like December, January 2018, but basically about 3 years since.
Or maybe, 2017, I think December 2017 was like the high. Maybe
Yeah.
it went into January 2018 a little bit.
Right.
but
So
yeah.
either way, today, for a while, this morning was over 15,000. Now it's kind of back to 15 flat. But either way, I mean, it has increased. I don't
And
know.
nobody's talking about it.
I know.
The last time it had a bull run like this,
It was like daily
if
news.
people remember back a few years ago, it was like
But
everywhere you went.
You know what? I think it's
Nobody's
also
talking
because of
about
the timing. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's but I mean, it's
so
been
much
happening.
stuff going on now.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
Bitcoin is going to be like sidetracked when
That's good, though.
everybody's focusing on the government. But what the reason for one of the things that
And I want to mention, actually, if you listen to that podcast last week, I talked about Ethereum 2.0, and I said it might come out next year.
Right.
They actually announced it literally a few days later. It's going to come out December 1st. So I was
Okay.
wrong. They are doing it way sooner than I thought. And you
Sure.
can go look at what that means if you
Yeah,
didn't see
which
it.
by the way, Ethereum is also up over 400. It's been a little over 400 before this year. I think it went back down to the 350, 60 range. Then it went up to the 380, and now it's back again over 400. So we'll see. The crypto world is pretty interesting now. But what do you think is the reason for Bitcoin to all of a sudden take this surge? Is it uncertainty? Is it people trying to
I don't know. I think
trusting
it's
it more?
I think it's a combination of things. I think that there's been like an accumulation for a long time. The halvening, as they call it, happened recently. I mean, the supply just keeps going down, and the demand is if the demand just stays steady while the supply goes down, well, the price is going to go
Right.
up. And then if the demand goes up on top of that, obviously the price is going to go up even higher. I think also there's been a lot of inflation this year, so I'm sure that has to do with it.
Yeah, the dollar has weakened too, so that makes crypto more appealing sometimes for other investors.
I don't have an answer really. I mean, it's hard to. No one really knows when or why things go up at a
No, I
specific
was more looking
time.
to see if there's any event where all of a sudden a financial institution starts betting on crypto.
Yeah,
Like we said,
the PayPal thing
did it.
happened. I don't know. I mean, it went up from 14 to 15,000 basically yesterday and today.
Yeah, but before that it went.
But there
from-
wasn't a specific catalyst as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, but it was about 11 or so a month ago, so it's gone quite a bit.
Oh, I mean, this year, I think it was as low as. What was the low this year? I don't even remember.
I can look it up, but 1 second.
I mean, I remember the last time I bought was last year, and I think it went down to as low as 4,000 last year.
This year the lowest, actually, in conjunction with the pandemic, in March it was 5,200.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right,
I
so-
bought
so-
more when it was about around 6,000.
So
I
March
remember.
11th, or basically when the stock market crashed, Bitcoin followed the trend, and it went down to 5,200. It wasn't much higher. It was probably in the 8,000 before, but it went down to 5,200 in March, and now we are basically 8 months later, and we're at 15,000. So that's like a 200 almost gain from the low. So obviously, timing the market after it's happened is 2020.
I bought it
But-
6,000. I remember when it dropped, I was happy because it hadn't been that low in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think the interesting thing is before for like 2 years, every time it would have a spike, it would almost immediately within a few days or a few weeks drop back down again. And now it's been at this level for a while, like, and it just keeps going up. Like it doesn't have that drawback that we're used to seeing. And I'm not a chart guy, but a lot of people like these charts where they talk about the accumulations and the resistance and all of that. I think a lot of that is kind of bullshit, but it is, in this case, it went up to 13, it held. It went up to 14, it held. It went up to 15. So far, it looks like it's going to hold.
The other one,
that's interesting.
the other one that is also
We're not
going
that
up,
far from the high now.
No, the other one that is also going up in the last few days is gold. Gold is always being a traditional hedge.
I think that's mostly just because of inflation.
Right.
I think that's the biggest reason.
Since you asked me before about year to date, gold started at 1,500 or so an ounce, and now it's at 1950. So it was higher earlier in the year, like right after the summer. It was almost up at 2,000. I think it passed 2,000.
About 2,000, yeah.
And then it went down to like 18 something just 3 days ago. I was looking and it was like 1860, 1870, which was at a good entry point to buy more if you were investing in gold. And now today is 1950. So it's basically gonna like 75 points or dollars basically in 3 days or so. So that's also another interesting fact. The dollar, however, is a little weaker today compared to euro and other currencies, which is maybe the prospects of trade and everything have made the dollar, better for exports and imports and all that stuff. So, all right. So, predictions. Anything you wanted to?
I wanted to see. Okay, so depending on who wins, 2024 predictions.
2024.
Yes.
Wow. I don't
So,
even know what's going to happen
Let's
the
do
rest of
scenario
2020.
1. Joe Biden wins. All right. Joe Biden wins 2024.
Do you think he'll be around still in 2024?
Around, I don't know. I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, unless something bad happens. But I don't think he's going to run again in 2024.
Oh, no, for
Because
sure.
he'll be
No.
82.
Yeah. No. He. I mean.
So let's assume.
I wish him all health, but I think he probably.
Let's
won't run.
assume. I mean, I'm not going to get into speculation. Oh, he's going to go in and then Kamala's going to take over. I don't know. Let's assume he wins 2024. It's probably Kamala, I'm going to guess, will be the presidential candidate for the Democrats. We'll see. That would be my guess. Maybe Pete Buttigieg is already working on his 2024 campaign, I can tell.
So is Kanye.
Yeah, well, that's different. But and then Republicans. Who's running?
Well, Trump can run again.
I know he can run again. I don't think he's going to.
Trump will be 78, which is exactly Biden's age now.
Yeah.
So he will come back and say, "I told you so. Now we're gonna make America great."
No, I think the more
Re
likely.
again.
I think the more likely thing is
No, I think it's gonna be Donald Trump Jr.
his son.
Yeah.
And Trump will support his son and push his son, and that his son will run. Now, will his son win the primaries? I don't know. I don't think his son has the same charisma and attraction. I don't think a lot of people are excited about his son. Who else? Is there anybody else?
Oh,
What's
shit,
the
I don't know.
what's the woman who a lot of people like on the Republican side?
Was she a candidate
They say she's gonna run. What's her name?
on the Republican side?
Yeah. Oh, shoot, what's her name? I think she's from South Carolina or something. I forget. People would probably know. But anyways,
I don't know.
any predictions for 2024? If Biden wins?
If Biden wins this election, I don't know. It may be 2 terms back to back where we don't have 8 years for the same president.
I know. I actually think that's going to happen.
Like this is the first time since I don't know when that we
Since
don't have
Bush.
since
Bush Senior.
Bush 41 or what. I don't know. No, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, I didn't even know who, because the Republicans have been kind of like just supporting Trump. I don't know what candidates they have now, and I'm surprised. Obviously with the Democrats, we didn't know either a few months ago, and then they started popping all these people. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I think I don't know if Trump will run again. Maybe it depends on
I
whether.
don't think he will.
I don't think he will.
I think his son will, though. I
Yeah,
definitely think
maybe.
his son
I mean,
will.
I think after this, if he doesn't win now, he'll just go into quiet for a while. Like back to his business and all that,
see.
if there's such a thing. And
Okay.
I don't know. He'll become an activist.
If Trump wins,
If
what
Trump
does-
wins,
what does 2024 look like? Because then obviously he's done.
yeah,
I think if Trump wins, there's 100,000,000% chance that he is going to try to get his son next up in line.
yeah. Now, well, if Trump wins, that's a whole different scenario, because by then, the second term, he's gonna do whatever he wants. He's not worried about not being reelected. And then I think there's a greater chance of the Democrats to win next time, because usually that's how the pendulum swings. And it could be Kamala, it could be basically any of the other candidates that were. I don't think Sanders is going to run again.
No. He's done.
Warren, obviously, so Sanders already had a heart
Warren
issue.
might. I don't know.
I don't think so. She kind of.
I think Buttigieg would be the number one.
Yeah.
If they lose, Buttigieg
I think more
would
of
be
the
number
younger
one.
guys.
Because he's young, he's gay, which kind of helps on that side of the progressive part. But he's already starting the media circuit, which I think is funny. Like he's already going on all the channels, going everywhere, and I'm 100% confident he will run in
I don't know if on the
2024.
Republican side, maybe Mitt Romney will try again.
No, he's not going to go again. I think he's done. I think I don't know who's a young-ish Republican. I don't really know.
Well, I mean, you have all the Marco Rubios. And all
No,
those guys
I don't think. I think the area of the Rubio and the Ted Cruz and all is over.
Not Ted
they
Cruz,
had
but
their
Marco
chance.
Rubio is young. He's more experienced now. He has a lot of Hispanic vote too. Even though, again, we don't want to tag all the Hispanics the same way, but he'll appeal to all that mass. He would have run this year probably if he weren't, because Trump was incumbent. I don't know. I mean, I think that's pure speculation. I'll be happy if we know the current president within the next. I mean, by the weekend, hopefully. I don't know how it's gonna go. I mean, especially if he goes to courts and all that stuff. Who the
But
heck
my
knows?
2028 prediction,
Oh fuck.
guaranteed. Well, unless, but okay, I'll say this: if the I guess it depends who wins in 2024. If the Democratic president wins it, and then they're going for re-election, maybe won't happen. But AOC is 30, 29, 30 right now. I
no
think she's
idea.
30. So you need to be 35. So in 4 years, she won't be old enough in 2024.
So she'll run against
But in
Tulsi.
2028, she will be 38, probably around there. She'll be old enough. I would bet a lot of money that AOC will be running for president.
Yeah,
and
but then
that
you get into the
and
younger
that-
crowd, like the Chelsea.
I think
Chelsea Hilton too.
I don't agree with her on almost any of her policies, but I
What
think
about,
she is one hell of a politician, and she knows how to market herself. I think AOC is the Democratic Trump.
What about?
I think she is gonna.
What about Tulsi Gabbard?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because the establishment hates her. She'll never win. She'd have to go independent or something.
Speaking of, how about independence? How about
we'll see.
the Mark Cubans and all these names that were
Mark
floating
Cuban,
around?
I mean, I
how about
think
Bloomberg?
this was
Bloomberg will
his-
not run again.
I think Cuban, this was his year, and he didn't do it.
No, I think this year he was kind of teetering, but
I think if
anything-
Cuban ran, like starting back in like March, when they were rumors. I think he could have won.
Yeah, I think the timing was not perfect for him this year, especially with all the NBA issues that was going on and the COVID and all that. But he says, "Okay, I'm done with the NBA. I'm
maybe
done
he'll
with this."
run. Independent is tough, man. Independent is tough. I don't think it's independent. I don't know.
Well, it's tough because the way the law is here, but it shouldn't be. I mean, it should be in theory. It should be just.
Yeah, I mean, I vote third
third
party,
party.
but most people do not vote third party.
What,
You know,
1 million people got
Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is nothing. How many did Kanye get? He wasn't even on the ballot everywhere.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I thought he got like
100,000 or something.
100,000 or something. Just true fans.
But he wasn't expecting to win.
Yeah, no, I know. But he's already said that
He
he's going to
said
run
he'll
for 24.
run in 2024 for
Yeah.
real. So we'll see.
All right, well, that's been great. Hopefully, by the time you guys listen to this, maybe there's a little more clarity as far as who the next president will be. Whatever it is, hopefully it'll be a peaceful process. And anything else?
No.
All right, well.
Either way, it'll be okay because it doesn't matter that much. They want you to think it matters a lot. It doesn't matter that much.
I'm just glad.
I can't wait because it'll finally be very easy to do, and I encourage others to do it. After this is over, disengage.
Yeah,
Separate
exactly.
yourself from politics.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Let's
It's
have
been-
2021 be the year of no politics, okay?
It's been
Let's move on.
so far a very intense year for a variety of reasons that we all know. So let's just kind of focus on the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the year and enjoy maybe the holidays, relaxing. I know it's easy to say with all the things going on, but there's things that you can't control.
You worrying is not going to change the outcome.
I know.
So just be zen, you know?
Yeah, just relax.
You
and then,
stressing out about
be good to each other.
About
That's
the
all
election?
we need to do. Let's just try to be friendly with each other for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then we'll be better off at the end of the day. So, all right, guys, thanks for listening. Hopefully you like this one. If you do, please just give us a thumbs up, like whatever, in whichever social platform you use. That would be greatly appreciated. It just tells us that you kind of care for us. So, but in the meantime, until next show, have a great weekend and peace out.